Hello and welcome to Mobile World Live. I'm Sasha Twining. It's great to have your company. Thank you for joining us in our studios in London. We're going to talk about some of the tricky issues facing the industry. Tricky issues that absolutely will have a solution. Delighted to say with me here in the studio in London, I have Adrian Dodd and Henry Calvert, both from the GSMA. Gentlemen, welcome.
Hello.
So we're going to talk about devices and connections to the network, yeah? And actually making that seamless and wonderful and how it should be, all that sort of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Henry, do you want to talk us through what the situation is at the moment?
Yeah, with devices, the way people have bought devices over the last 10 years has changed radically. You used to go into an operator and get a handset over the shelf in a shop. And you'd walk out and the services would be working perfectly for you. Now people actually buy devices from very different places. They might buy them online through a website, or they might go into an Apple store and buy them over the counter in that store, or they might actually get them handed down through the family. And this causes some problems because the setup of the phone is going to be very different when they come from these different channels. So one of the biggest problems is be able to configure a handset to work perfectly to the network provider that you actually have, because the phones come from different places. It hasn't actually come from the operator themselves. And they haven't been able to set up that phone so it's perfectly and going to provide the services that you want to see, like your voice service or your messaging services or your browsing experience that you're going to have. So what we've been looking at is how do we actually solve the problem of when you have a handset, how do you configure that handset with the right settings so you're going to have the best experience when you're using the mobile phone?
Now, is this the same across all different manufacturers, or is it just at the smaller players, or how does it work?
It is actually different across a lot of the manufacturers. You might get on an Apple phone, you might get operator settings. Okay, come up on the phone. That's okay and easy for them when it's that first sale of the phone and handover of the phone. When it's passed on to another, your children or your grandparents, and you put a new SIM card in there, then the handset's going, what settings do I need to use for this network? I was on Vodafone, now I'm on EE. What do I need to configure so I work perfectly? And that's what we're trying to solve. We want a consistent way where an operator can say, here's how my network will work perfectly to the device, and that device can pick that up and say, well, I know how to work. I'm a Xiaomi phone. I now know how to work to a Vodafone network. Brilliant. I'm going to work fine.
So, Adrian, this is where you must come in now. So this is the problem. We've got the problem. Now we need the solution, and I bet it's not as simple as just a tick box system, is it?
Well, we like to think that it is actually quite simple. We've basically set up at the GSMA a Network Settings Exchange service, and this will enable any operator to upload those very specific settings that relate to its network and its network personality. And then we'll allow the manufacturers of devices to log into that registry and draw down those settings such that any device can be
made to work.
Made to work.
Yeah,
exactly,
without anyone really thinking
configured
about it. Yeah.
to that specific network at any time during its life cycle. And when you think that we have, 600 active operators around the world, and over 1,000 active manufacturers, the job for them to do that independently and bilaterally is just too big. And without some sort of central organization, they'll all be trying to exchange the settings in different formats, and that makes the work more laborious and difficult to do. So we've standardized how the information is exchanged. Everything is set out nicely so that it can be repeated by all the operators, downloaded by all the manufacturers in a standardized way. And they can all do this through one convenient single point, which is the GSMA Network Settings Exchange.
And very quickly, I imagine that you've had some good feedback on this. People going, yes, this spreadsheet, I'm going to call it a big spreadsheet, is amazing.
Believe me, the spreadsheet is gone. We are more sophisticated than the spreadsheet. But yeah, I mean, immediately we've had over 200 manufacturers sign up, and they're raring to go. So we're looking forward to helping the industry with these settings and configurations and making sure everything works properly for 4G and 5G where it really matters. And particularly when people are now starting to think of switching off the 2G and the 3G networks, it's imperative that 4G and 5G work really well and smoothly out of the box, or if you've got a hand-me-down phone.
Absolutely. It is all about that customer experience, isn't it? Very best of luck with it. Thank you very much for explaining it and making sense of it all. Adrian and Henry, thank you very much for joining us here in our studios in London. And you've been watching Mobile World Live. It's been good to have you with us.